pierwszej chwili zwykli Rosjanie uznali najazd wojsk Hitlera za mniejsze zło aniżeli reżim Stalina. Radowano się też w zaanektowanych przez Związek Radziecki państwach bałtyckich. Ryga wita najeźdźców. Trzydziestego lipca 1941 roku, w 5 tygodni po ataku Niemiec na Związek Radziecki, na mocy układu Majski-Sikorski, rząd radziecki ogłasza amnestię dla wziętych do niewoli Polaków i wyraża zgodę na sformowanie armii polskiej. Zwolnieni z więzień i obozów jeńcy wstępują w jej szeregi. Także wypuszczony z Łubianki Romuald przywdziewa mundur oficerski i zostaje podwładnym generała Andersa. Rozpoczyna starania o wydobycie rodziny z zesłania.
Przyszła do tatusia taka myśl, że przecież dużo tych żołnierzy wie, gdzie ich rodziny są, bo słyszał nawet, że pisali dostali list czy coś. No to wieczorami już po zajęciach, w nocy przy świeczce pisał takie karteczki. Jeżeli ktokolwiek wie coś o rodzinie Antoni Michniewicz, mój ojciec, babcia moja Agnieszka, żona Janina i dziecko Roma, proszę zawiadomić jak najszybciej. Bardzo bym prosił.
Panie kapitanie, telegram dla pana.
Nikt nie wspominał tatusia, a ja nie wiedziałam nic, że jest tatuś jakiś, bo nie pamiętałam go, a prababcia i dziadek to tylko się za niego modlili, ale nikt mnie nie opowiadał. Może myśleli, że dziecko będzie bardzo smutno, że nie ma tatusia. To ja tylko mama, babcia, dziadek. Tylko tyle wiedziałam. Ja miałam 2,5 latka wtedy, ja jeszcze to nie wiedziałam nic o tatusiu. Pierwszy raz to jak już uciekaliśmy, to ja wiedziałam, że jest ktoś, kto i mnie niesie czasem, i mnie tuli, i całuje mnie. Było bardzo przyjemnie mieć kogoś tak, że tak dbało o mnie i o mamusię, bo to dziecko zauważa. No i tatuś przyjechał, nikomu nie pisząc ani nie mówiąc, bo widocznie myślał, że przyjedzie za 2 dni, ale zajęło mu więcej trochę. I ten co prowadził ten wóz z koniem, mówi: o, to pana żona idzie, ona zawsze idzie. My ją nazywamy Pani Wielka. Nie idzie nigdzie z nikim, tylko sama. To Pani Wielka. To tatuś zeskoczył z tego wozu i biegiem i woła: Janusz, Janusz. A mamusia przystanęła i myśli sobie. Mamusia powiedziała: myślałam, że już tracę rozum. Zupełnie. Co będzie z dzieckiem?
Janusz! Janusz!
Obraca się, a to tatuś biegnie. Wrzucili sobie w ramiona i całą noc rozmawiali, i cały dzień rozmawiali. I wtedy tatuś powiedział, że ma te bilety i pozwolenie na 11 rodzin, żeby wywieźć stamtąd. No i tatuś zawiadomił wszystkie rodziny, wyjeżdżamy za tydzień, w poniedziałek, wszyscy się spotykamy na stacji, proszę się przygotować. No i biedni ludzie pooddawali niektóre rzeczy albo zostawili, bo tylko z walizą stawili się na stację. A NKWD mówi, tylko żołnierze, oficerowie, ale nigdy tacy zwykli robotnicy nam są potrzebni. Kto będzie uprawiał ziemię, kto będzie tam sadził kartofle i tak dalej. No ale wtedy tatuś zapadł na tą, coś zdaje się nazywa szybki tyfus, czy krwawy tyfus, bo to z wielkiego wrażenia się dostaje. To nie było, że zaburzenia żołądka, tylko z wielkiego wrażenia, że tyle ludzi jest, a on nie może ich wziąć, bo nie pozwolą. I musieli wracać do swoich domów. On przeleżał tydzień w szpitalu i później dziadek mówi, ty musisz się szykować i jechać. Już 2 depesze przyszły, że zaraz będzie ostatni transport odchodził. Wojskowy transport. To nie zdążysz i co wtedy będzie? Zabieraj żonę i dziecko i idźcie. Jedźcie jak najszybciej. Dziadek jakoś tam gdzieś wypożyczył taką furmankę z jednym koniem, żeby przyjechać do stacji, gdzie ich nie znają w ogóle, bo przedtem NKWD mógł poznać tatusia. To wysłane sianem te sanki, mamusie tatuś wsadził mnie i pożegnaliśmy się z dziadkiem i z prababcią. I jak mamusia mówi, jak odjeżdżaliśmy, to ci dwaj tak dobrzy ludzie zostali i coraz mniejsi się robili, bo odległość. I to był jedyny raz, że tatuś płakał. Tak był rozżalony, że musiał ich zostawić. I nie wiemy, co się stało z nimi też. Ale dziadek mówił mamusi, nie martwcie się o nas. Ludzie tu są dobrzy. Podzielą się z nami. Jak będziemy starzy, pomogą. Także mamy nadzieję, że rzeczywiście tak było. Ale często pytałam mamusię, no opowiedz mi, jak babcia wyglądała. To babcia mówi, o taka malutka, taka chudziutka, a taka szybka, wszystko tego, a wszystko umiała.
Muszą dotrzeć do Krasnowocka przed końcem ewakuacji. Sowieci lekceważyli układ majski-sikorski. Wielu uwolnionych na mocy amnestii przymusowo osiedlano w Kazachstanie. Polskim obywatelom narodowości białoruskiej, ukraińskiej i żydowskiej zakazano wyjazdu do miejsc poboru. Zakaz utrwalał zwierzchność ZSRR nad terytoriami zajętymi przez Armię Czerwoną we wrześniu 1939 roku. Wciąż nie był znany los polskich oficerów i żołnierzy wziętych przez Rosjan do niewoli. Mimo trudności armia rozwijała się. Jednak wraz ze wzrostem liczby żołnierzy i towarzyszących wojsku cywili problemem stawała się aprowizacja. Sowieci nie tylko nie zwiększali przydziałów żywności, ale je ciągle obniżali. Fatalne w skutkach okazało się przemieszczenie wojska w okolice Taszkentu na tereny zaproponowane przez Stalina. Klimat Uzbekistanu i epidemia tyfusu spowodowały śmierć około 10 000 żołnierzy i cywili. W lutym 1942 roku władze sowieckie zażądały od Andersa skierowania na front wojska. Generał odmówił. Armia osiągnie gotowość bojową najwcześniej za 6 miesięcy. Nie zgodził się też na wysyłanie na front pojedynczych dywizji. Ewakuacja do Iranu była jedyną szansą ocalenia armii oraz rodzin oficerów i żołnierzy od zagłady. Janina bez zgody władz sowieckich nielegalnie opuściła miejsce zsyłki. By uniknąć aresztowania przez NKWD, kilka razy wyskakiwali z pociągu w biegu.
Jak się stąd wydostaniemy?
O, na pewno gdzieś w pobliżu jest jakaś stacja. Pójdę i sprawdzę, jak jeżdżą pociągi.
Aresztują cię.
Nie aresztują.
Trafisz z powrotem?
Nie zostawię was tutaj.
Wolę zginąć tam z głodu, niż dać się zjeść przez wilki.
Tu w prawo. Roma. Hej. Teraz, kochanie, pobawimy się w chowanego, dobrze? I wejdziesz na drzewo. Masz. Wrócę.
Także ja siedziałam na mamusi kolanach i wtedy byliśmy otoczone i mieliśmy tam kromkę chleba i coś jeszcze. Ale mamusia mówiła w nocy, wilcze oczy tylko świeciły naokoło tego drzewa. I myślała, czy one się mogą wdrapać na drzewo, ale widocznie nie mogą, tylko tak stoją na 2 nogach, ale za wysoko im. A mamusia myślała, no nigdy nie opuszczę tego miejsca. Gdyby się coś stało z mężem, to już tu umrzemy. Lepiej umrzeć z głodu, niż być rozszarpanym przez tą gromadę wilczą. Ale tatuś się zjawił.
Lęk przed aresztowaniem towarzyszył im bezustannie.
Przed samym końcem podróży to akurat jeden z oficerów, który sprawdzał, powiedział: o, no ty jesteś wojskowy, bo tatuś był w mundurze, to ty będziesz mógł, ale To żadna siostra, to twoja żona, jestem pewny.
Билеты, паспорта. Билеты, паспорта.
Товарищ капитан, мы не отправляем медсестер с выписанными больными. Сойдете на следующей станции, и мы все выясним.
Nas teraz zabiją.
Mamusia mówi, tatuś po prostu szczerniał z tej informacji. Ale słyszę, oni rozmawiają tam, że trzeba zawiadomić pułkownika, że tutaj są uchodźcy, którzy się przemycają. Myśli, jak pójdę do tego pułkownika, a nuż się da.
Ты, сволочь, куда?
Есть важное сообщение для товарища полковника.
Что случилось, товарищ капитан?
Tatuś mówi, chcę porozmawiać z tobą jak mężczyzna do mężczyzny. Przecież wiesz, jakie my przeszliśmy tyle i w więzieniu, i zostawiliśmy żony i dziecko. Ja wyrywam ich z tej katorgi tutaj. Ty musisz zrozumieć, jak przecież masz na pewno rodzinę. I tak starał się do niego przemówić. A ten sobie mówi, to wszyscy to przeżywają, to jest czas wojny, więc to jest sprawa taka, że każdy to zna, nic nowego w tym. Masz jeszcze minutę, a jak nic nowego nie masz, to do widzenia. Wtedy tatuś odsuwa rękaw, a ten spojrzał na ten zegarek. Tatuś zauważył, że on zainteresowany jest tym. Mówi, a ty chcesz to? To twój.
О, это оригинальная история. Не банальная. Удачи, товарищ капитан.
No i tatuś przychodzi i mamusia mówiła, po prostu mówi, jesteśmy wolni, czy ty wiesz, że jesteśmy wolni, nic tam nie będzie. I skacze, a mamusia też i obejmują się. I mamusia mówi, na pewno myślałaś, że myśmy zwariowali, bo tutaj tak dużymi oczyma na nas patrzysz, a my skaczemy i śmiejemy się i płaczemy, że to wszystko jest w porządku teraz. Ale chwała Bogu, że ten zegarek był, co tatuś miał jeszcze od ojca, gdy skończył szkołę oficerską, to był prezent. Po może 10 godzinach był Krasnowodsk i tam była armia Andersa i tatuś dołączył i już ostatnie transporty wyjeżdżały. Więc tatuś zdążył. Pojechał z wojskiem do Egiptu, później do Włoch i walczył pod Ancona, Bohemia i Monte Cassino. I był jeden z pierwszych tych dywizji, które biegły do Monte Cassino, jak już było zdobyte. Niemcy uciekali, a Polacy wchodzili do Monte Cassino. I tatuś biegnie korytarzem i na zakręcie stoi Niemiec z karabinem i mu ręce się tak trzęsą. Chłopak, tatuś mówi, niemożliwe, żeby miał więcej jak 14 lat. Więc tatuś położył swoją broń na podłogę i mówi do niego, wszystko w porządku, będzie dobrze. Ty połóż swoją tak samo. I ten położył i od razu ręce do góry, poddał się, ale też mógł zastrzelić, bo niespodziewanie ktoś biegnie, a tutaj tego. Ale tatuś wierzy, że co go ocaliło? Jak tylko wbiegł, pierwsze parę kroków, duże drewniane serce było poczaskane zupełnie, spadło znaczy ze ściany w tym korytarzu, a w środku była figurka Matki Boskiej, tylko głowa i taka mała. Więc tatuś patrzy, że to przecież nie można zostawić, więc wyrwał to i za mundur. I właśnie tylko zakręca, tu stoi z tym. Mógł strzelić, ale tatuś mówi, Matka Boska mnie ocaliła, bo ja miałem ją na sercu. Jak już byliśmy z mamusią w Isfahanie, w Persji znaczy, to mamusia mówiła, to nie jest nasz kraj, to tutaj tylko jesteśmy, ale my pojedziemy do Polski. Zawsze pamiętam to jedną rzecz, że zawsze jechaliśmy do Polski. Gdzie nie jechałam, to do Polski jechaliśmy. A później mamusia mówi, bo ja chyba pytałam, to Polska? Nie, ale pojedziemy do Polski. Bo tak zawsze było. Jakieś 90% dzieci poniżej lat 2 zmarło na Syberii. Więc ja byłam w tym małym procencie, że żyłam, ale to zawdzięczając rodzinie. Bo gdyby mamusia była sama, to by dali mnie gdzieś do sierocińca tam i już zrobili ze mnie Rosjankę. Miałam przed wyjazdem tylko 2,5 lat, przed wyjazdem z Syberii. To ja tylko pamiętam zapach słomy, bo oni trawę kosili wszędzie. Wszędzie były trawy wysokie i kosili. Teraz, jak kiedyś przechodzę i ogrodnik ścina trawę, to od razu mi się przypomina Syberia, bo ja pamiętam ten zapach ściętej trawy. A resztę to wszystko z opowiadania rodziców, co były bardzo częste, bo nie chcieli, żebym cokolwiek, jakiś szczegół zapomniała, więc przez lata zawsze wszystko było powtarzane dokładnie, żeby moje dzieci i wnuki i prawnuki też tą historię znały.
Czy chcesz usiąść?
Okej. Chciałem na początku, zanim spytam się, kto ma pytanie, na początku chciałem
Before I ask you for questions, I'd like to thank you, Roma, for sharing this film. But first of all, I'd like to remind ourselves that we met for the first time. I wanted to remind you that we met in California maybe 10 years ago, maybe 8, something like that. I was traveling. We were starting our virtual museum work, and I was visiting Los Angeles, ex-Sibirac, and the people from the neighborhood came, and they heard about a guy from Australia visiting, and the lady came up to me and she says, I published a book, Footsteps in the Snow, and I have 10 copies that I brought. I will sell them, and the money that I will collect, I will donate to Foundation Kresy-Syberia. So you can start this virtual museum. That was our first meeting, and she was already helping us, sharing her story. Very generous. Thank you very much. And since then, I don't know if it's third or fourth time we're meeting. She was here previously, and she was translating when we didn't have translators for all sessions. She'd translate for us. You're a great friend, true friend of our work, and thank you very much. So I'm ready. Are there any questions or comments?
Trzeba więcej pytać. Słucham.
Film jest
It's a great moving film, greatly done. I've experienced similar things, not traveling, but I came back in 46. It spoke to me really deeply. I have a question. How could you make it more public in Poland? Producers are trying to sell. So they're arranging. Probably the history channel is going to be interested.
Emotional because you've given me a clue about a family member of mine. One of my aunts, one of my mother's sisters, who was around 16 at the time, in their little village in the Kresy, died. And they said that she had a great fright. So when you were talking about the stress and the typhus, I want to make sure I get the name correct of what was the typhus called?
No. My husband is a doctor, and I can ask him.
Okay.
Because he will know. But I never sort of asked him. I just wrote a book. So, but I will be glad to find out, because actually he's a diagnostician. So he diagnoses, but he's also internal medicine.
Yeah.
So he has a good idea how to find out.
It's hearing that a huge stress can bring that on. It just resonated with me. So that's important information for me for my research. So thank you, Roma.
And I'll give you my card with the email.
Good.
Then you just write that you're waiting for that, and I'll be sure to do it right away.
Roma, I have a question, and then if I can, and then I'll pass to Basha. The question was about your father and mother. When you ended up in Los Angeles, in California, were they still both with you then? And what did they do after the war?
Well, after the war, we met in England, because that's where the Polish forces were disbanded, in England. And unfortunately, we were not welcomed very much in England. Dad was always told, tell your divisions to send them back to Poland, to go back to Poland. But Father didn't want them to go back to Poland, because he heard that a lot of them were sent back to Siberia when they came to Poland, or they were imprisoned. So Daddy said, nobody go to Poland. I will try to assist you in getting you to Canada, Australia, New Zealand, but we'll have to get out of here because they don't really want us here. And so he really helped all he could to get people out to those countries, and even Spain, and some went to France, but no more to Poland, because they knew that they wouldn't be safe. And after that, we came to New Zealand, and I finished my first degree, and I got a scholarship to Ann Arbor, Michigan, for my graduate work. So I came at the age of 21. I came to America by myself and wound up in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I asked that I would like to live with the American family if I could, because I'd rather be not by myself or with some students I don't know, you know. Mother scared me a lot about America. She said, you be careful, you don't go out at night, oh no, and you don't go anywhere when you don't know the people. That's it. And so I stayed here. I met my husband, and Mother was very distressed. She wanted me right back to New Zealand. After all, that is a beautiful country and very safe, but then the climate was not good for my mother. She was forever sick with some pleurisy and things like that. So we moved to Australia because the climate was so much better. And they stayed in Australia and I stayed here. But every 2 years I went to visit them, and every 2 years they came to visit. So we sort of saw each other every third year. And then I would come because I was teaching, so I would take my whole summer to go to Australia. You know. And my brother is still in Australia. Great Barrier Reef, right there. So we go visit sometimes. That's
beautiful. Well, you're invited to come to Sydney next time, where we are.
Oh, great.
All of you.
Where?
Yes, all of you.
Yes.
We're all invited, yes. Thank you. I'll pass to Basha.
Roma, thank you for this lovely movie. I'm impressed that your mother wanted you to know exactly, with the repetition of the facts with your experience, because it was still yours, but you were too young to remember. Was your father the same way?
Oh, yes.
Really?
He always kept saying, no matter what nationality we have to take, because otherwise you don't get the help from the country. Mm-hmm. And we have to be helped. So I have 4 nationalities. I'm a Britisher, I am a New Zealander, I am an American, and I'm a Pole. But Pole first.
Yes.
In fact, my friend at the university, she said, first time I met you, she said, I'm Roma. I told her, I'm Roma, and I'm Polish.
Very nice. What about the Siberia experience, though? I mean, did your father talk about that?
Oh, yes. He did,
So
especially...
he wasn't inhibited on in any way?
My father was never inhibited.
Excellent.
He was like my friend, Wojciech, that sang. He's not that same personality.
Very nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions?
Any other questions? Can I give you this? Okay. Well, Roma, thank you again very much.
You're so welcome. You really are.
And thank you for all of your support for these many years.
Ja złamałam biodro 2,5 miesiąca temu.
Well, we're nearly at the end, and it's been a fantastic 2 days. I'd like to just maybe take a moment to sum up the proceedings, and in a moment I'll also ask the organizers to come and join me on the stage. So just get yourself ready, Marek, Ivana, and Maciej. In a moment I'll invite you to come up so that everyone can thank us. Thank you. But first I'd like to just underline that it's a special date on which we meet today. We've had many special dates, but we started with 1919. And if you remember the presentation by Tomasz Kuba-Kozłowski on how in 1919 the Kresy, our eastern lands that many of us have families coming from, were actually regained for Poland. Of course, they had been Polish hundreds of years earlier, but always very complex ethnically and politically, and hard fought for, whether it was Wilno, Lwów, or Grodno, or in between. So I think that was a fantastic presentation by Tomasz Kuba-Kozłowski, and I've learned a lot, and I'm sure that many of us have as well. But that sort of gave a bit of a start to this 100-year anniversary of Poland reestablishing sovereignty over those lands. And of course, many of our families ended up either resettling there or had been settled there. But it was really, I think, quite appropriate that the next presentation by Agnieszka Rybak and Anna Smolka, which they called The Eiffel Tower on the Pina, when they were talking about the Kresy lands and Polesie. And what I took from that very much was how the Polish regime, if you want, the Polish government was investing in rebuilding those lands which had been destroyed during the war and which were poor in any case, putting in buildings, putting in bridges, and the reference to the Eiffel Tower is they were saying, can we have an Eiffel Tower as well? Because they were saying, you know, this is a special place. And I also liked their references to the Polish Navy, which was the inland navy in Pinsk, Flota Pińska, especially because of, it was many of those sailors who were actually deported to Siberia in 1939 as well. And great irony, all those sailors being sent inland. So I thought that was a really good connection. And then, Barbara, then we had you talking about the letters from your attic, which struck me as very poignant and really talking to our hearts about our family's stories. And I think that that's particularly striking because in Kresy-Syberia, we've been working for at least 10 years on the museum, and for the years before that, before we got really organized, with the philosophy that we're not just going to talk about history. There are historians, and the facts are really interesting, but it's the people that we'll be talking about and making those connections and talking about the histories from a personal point of view. And in fact, I'm just looking up at the board. I don't know if you recognize those the 9 characters. When you go on our website, kresy-syberia.org, you'll see that there's a section called the Historical Galleries, because as well as collecting testimonies and profiles of survivors and so on, we've organized this history into 9 chapters or 9 galleries, starting from Kresy, historical and between the wars, and then moving through the invasion of 1939 that we've been talking about today. And each of these characters summarizes part of the history, and I wasn't expecting to talk about them in specific terms, so I can't tell you exactly who each person is, but I know that this one here, for example, is a lady from the Polish government in London who was taking care of the refugees in India and Africa because they were reporting on their welfare. We've got a captain in the Polish Navy. We've got an airman from the Air Force. And so we actually bring these characters to life, and when you visit the galleries, they tell the stories from a very personal point of view. And that's why it's so important, and I've said it a few times already, inviting you and encouraging people in your family, visit the website and make sure that your family's story is there. Even if they're gone, the photographs, the memories, the facts, whatever you can put up, we've got it set up that way so that these memories can be perpetuated and passed on in the future. And I also invite people who have presentations or particular things that they've put together, and Christine, I'm looking at you as well as Barbara. People have put together their personal stories, and there is room for publishing these on our website as special exhibitions, including films and parts of films. So I'm going to shamelessly promote the museum as I go. We finished up yesterday with a fantastic movie from Chris Schwider, which, starting from the family of his family of Dr. Konstanty Schwider, who was a Polish military soldier who was taken into captivity and then went through with Anders' army. And remember those interviews with General Jaruzelski, which made his film so controversial that they had to censor it before they put it on Polish TV. So I think it was terrific. We were so fortunate to have Chris here yesterday. And I invite you, if you'd like to buy his film, to show it to some other people or even rent it, the price is very reasonable, 48 zloty, $12 US. You can buy it online on Vimeo. The reason I'm holding this up is the web link for his movie is in this program. If you read his biography in here, the link is there. And Roma, I hope we'll have a link to your film in a year or two, whenever it's ready. So that finished up yesterday. I should just also mention we were very grateful for Director Adam Chlebovich from the Institute of National Memory, from the National Education Bureau, who spent a few minutes with us taking us through his program. We've had a lot of support from IPN over the last 10 years as we've been creating the museum. And one of the fantastic things that they have there is an index of the repressed, which has over 300,000 profiles gleaned from the Soviet archives, from the NKVD archives in Archangel and other places. And we're very pleased that in the next few months, we'll be introducing that whole database in our museum, in our wall of tribute, our wall of names. So the work that they're doing is really important. And behind each of those records, there's additional information that people can find by contacting the IPN. So if anybody's interested in that, or anybody out in the internet watching, please contact us, and we hope we'll be able to do more with the IPN. Which Institute of National Memory, Instytut Pamięci Narodowej. I'm just this morning when we started with David Stewart, the son of the U.S. Army officer, and interesting how he was able to bring his father's story a little bit into our history. And it's fascinating that after so many years, here's this American fellow, Vietnam War veteran. It's his 8th visit to Poland. And he's embodied his father's experience, which coincidentally crossed paths with those of our families who were arrested by the Soviets. My wife's grandfather was a policeman in Ruvne, in Wołyń, and was arrested and shot in the Katyn action, actually in Bukovina in the Ukraine. So it's very personal to many of us. And of course, the officers that were arrested and shot at Katyn, their families were then deported. So these deportations are like the second chapter of the Katyn massacre. And the Katyn Museum was mentioned several times by David when he was talking about his book coming out, being published by the museum. I wanted to mention that they too are a really strong partner and supporter of Kresy-Syberia. We, in fact, will be visiting them again on Tuesday because the ceremonies after the Mass are going to be held at the Katyn Museum at the Citadel. And I hope that many of you can join those. And right after the Katyn Museum, we will be marching to the monument, as I mentioned before, of the perished and the murdered in the East. So that was a good connection for me, the Katyn cover-up, and it keeps coming out, the history keeps coming out, and how many of our families became trapped in history, really became pawns of the bigger powers that were playing. So that was David. Marcin, thank you for your story, your glimpse into Polish presence and Polish traces in Siberia over the centuries. That's one of the things that often we're given a little nudge by people to say, the Polish presence in Siberia was not always a tragedy, not always a disaster, because much of Siberia was like the Wild East. Like in the US, you had the Wild West. It was land that was a frontier and had to be developed, and many Poles participated in that willingly, some not as willingly, but scientists and naturalists and geologists and engineers and so on. So Marcin, keep it coming, and we'll visit your website to get more of that, because it really emphasizes that connection that Poles have to that eastern land. Then, of course, we had Roger with his fascinating research supported by Anastasia, and he's really become like a second Norman Davies for us in some ways as a voice of Poland in the West. So we were very grateful to have him here for the second time. Every time he writes a new book, I think he should come to the conference and talk to us about it. I think he's got another 5 or 6 books in him in the next 5 or 6 years. Anastasia, I hope you can help keep him on the pace. But that was very interesting to hear about the narrative and the propaganda and the confusion that was being sown 80 years ago is still being sown today. And part of the reason, part of our mission, we call it research, remembrance, and recognition. People are not only joining us to find out about their families, but also to recognize them and make sure that they're remembered, but also so that the larger world knows about this history. And so what I think Roger is doing is very much a part of that. And I was blown away by Wojtek Bardowski, who was standing here in his Polish officer's uniform and singing incredibly Hymn Sybiraków. We should have had him at the beginning, but anyway, as well as at the end. Oh dear. Well, we'll have to have him at next year's conference to open the proceedings with the Hymn Sybiraków. Very impressive. And of course, we finished up Roma with your film, which was deeply moving. And it was so great to see you on the screen talking about your family and everything that you went through, but then to actually have you here. You'll look terrific. We should be so lucky and be in your condition, in a few years. Unbelievable. We wouldn't ask, but we wouldn't believe it. So, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us really to the end of today and to 2019. I think it's been a very successful conference with all of your input and all of your contributions. I think what I'd really like to do now is ask the organizing committee to come up on the stage so that we can all thank them together. Maciej, if you could come up, and Marcin Kawala, Maciej Czarkowski, Iwona Krasoń, and Marek Krasoń. You've done a terrific job pulling together the program and all of the arrangements for the conference. If there's anybody here who would like to join organizing the next one, we can always use more help. But please take a bow. You deserve our gratitude. Thank you. And at the same time, I would like to thank our terrific technical support. Patrick, please come and give a bow. And Patrick, through you, the whole staff at the Dom Spotkań Historii has been terrific, as always. They are partners in helping us organize this conference, and they give us the hall free of charge and all the support and the technology. So that's a tremendous help to us all. And I also wanted to thank the Sybiracy, Związek Sybiraków, especially Oddział Warszawski, who has always been working very closely with us and supporting us. And it's so special to have the Sybiracy here with us so we can talk to you and hear your stories directly, because we're trying to take the torch from your hands and pass it on, which is why we call it the generations. Remember, Pamięć Pokoleń. So thank you also for all of your support and work. And it would be remiss of me to not also thank our wonderful translators who have been sitting in a little room up there for the last 2 days and repeating in simultaneous fashion, but in a different language, everything that was said. Anastasia Pindor i Renata Knechczak, dziękujemy bardzo. Przyjdźcie za chwileczkę i powitamy się. Have I forgotten anybody? Allow me to, oh, yes, of course. I did want to thank the official photographer of the Kresy-Syberia conference, Greg Spring. And I'm not sure where Grażyna Nagiecka is. Oh, Grażyna, you're sitting, wait. May I call you Grażyna, or it has to be Grace? Witaj. Grażyna is our official reporter for the conference, and she's going to write a little report afterwards as a photo essay with her husband, Greg. So she's done this 2 years, third year now. Thank you very much. And sort of last but not least, I would be remiss if I didn't thank also many of you are members of the Zarząd, the executive of the foundation, and we're working behind the scenes to keep these things happening, not just the conference, but also all of our activities. We have meetings around the world, but also keeping the foundation going with all of the donations and accounting, the charity reporting, and the things that we need to do. And I wanted to welcome a relatively new member who has been very quiet for most of the conference, which is Stanisław Urban. Stan, can you stand up? I won't make you come up on stage, but... And Stan is going to bring his financial acumen to help us to keep our reporting on the straight and narrow as we go forward, and that's really, really important. So, and now finally, thank all of you for coming. I hope that we can do this again next year. It's always in September, because we always have this anniversary to mark. And as Tomasz Kozłowski suggested, and as I think Pan Prezes Mieczysław Pogodziński whispered in my ear, 1920 is 100 years ago was the battle for Warsaw, and there were the Siberian regiments were in there, and of course that's when a lot of the veterans of that became the settlers, the military settlers in Kresy, many of whom were our neighbors, if not our families, and who were also in the first wave of deportations. So these histories all tie together, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing you all again. Dziękujemy, dziękujemy bardzo. I do zobaczenia. And I hope to see many of you at the ceremonies on Tuesday at the Katyń Museum and afterwards.
We also I'd like to thank Stefan, our president of foundation and the head of the conference.
So we're formally finished. So the only question that I had is if anybody wants to grab some food tonight, I think, get a bite to eat together. I think some people were trying to organize something. Marek, I don't know if Ivana's going to let you out, but I think Chris was organizing something. Jan was, let's get together. So if anybody wants to go out for a drink or something to eat, just meet in the lobby afterwards and we'll make plans. O, ktoś zapomniał książki. If somebody... Ale to pisze, że ktoś zapomniał. Wczoraj.